Good morning, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 9425 Southwest Longstaff Street here in Tigard. Located at we're on the right side of the home here. That's as you stand facing the front door. So here on by the sliding door here on the deck, you've got a nice little hatch cut in the deck here under a green plate, like a sprinkler shutoff cover. Underneath that is a 4-inch cast iron cleanout. And even cooler, actually, you know what? This thing almost looks like it necks down. This is a hard one to eyeball because if we drop in here, the pipe actually necks down a little bit. That's a hard one to go off of visually. It might very well be 4-inch pipe. It's just by the time we've gone through all those things, visually speaking, it's very difficult to know with 100% certainty. But when you look at the amount of bathrooms and everything in here, it'd be very surprising if this was not 4-inch pipe. Anyway, water's running. We are zeroed out. Off we go here. But this is a very unique clean out. It's a two-way. Not so uncommon for newer plastic cleanouts, although for some reason we're really getting away from those. They're doing directional cleanouts, which are a nightmare. They force you to have to pull toilets and stuff to scope interior pipe. But on cast iron this era, I mean, it's like 1 in 1,000 houses will have a two-way cleanout, if that. It's extremely rare. So what that means for you is if you ever do get a blockage or something in the main trunk line of the house, you can deal with it from the outside, which is a very nice thing. So just swapped over there to 4-inch concrete. That appears to be transite concrete. I apologize, I don't have my auto leveling camera today. And we got I'm gonna be upside down for some of this, which doesn't bother me at all, but a little awkward for the average person, doesn't look at sewers all day. Pretty nice looking old sewer line there. And quite clean. I think I've seen 2 scraps of toilet paper in the entire line. So we're gonna go locate really quick here while the line drains out, then we'll have a better look at everything as we come back. But certainly a functioning sewer line. We'll get a little better view of condition and everything once the line's drained. Alrighty, located the camera head successfully. So again, as you stand in the street facing the front of the house here, the line basically just turns away from the right side of the house and runs pretty darn straight. It's a little bit of a unique setup back in here. This is a very old home, butted right up against a very new neighborhood. So sometimes what you get is kind of just a slightly different setup than your average house. So you're probably, my guess is, you'd have to check with title. Keep your eyes peeled for an easement, but the main lateral in this circumstance is not in the roadway. It's actually underneath this concrete patio area or seating area, which I'll show here in a moment. And I would look into it just to make sure there's some kind of easement in place or what have you. There is a concrete pad over the top of this area, and I positioned one of these chairs over here, so when I pull the camera, I'll show you approximately where the line terminates. But you just want to check into that, make sure everything's up to snuff there. My guess is it is. A lot of this stuff probably got looked into when these new homes were built over here. And sometimes this, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if this home here, or whoever owned this home, used to own all the property these new townhouses are on. Can't guarantee that, but it's a pretty common setup. Anyway, that transite there is held up very nicely. All the joints are sealed up. Super smooth pipe. And these older lines like this, this one's held up nicely, but it behooves you to keep an eye on them. Nothing lasts for forever. First thing that wears out usually are the pipe joints. And nowadays, with the advent of trenchless epoxy liners, which don't require digging typically, it's a good idea to monitor your sewer line, because at some point down the road, eventually your line will start to wear out. The joints often are what go first. They start to expose themselves to the ground, and slowly but surely, they'll start sucking in groundwater. Sometimes sewage can escape, but typically it's more so stuff entering into the sewer line. But that groundwater will seep in, it'll start bringing dirt with it, which can hydro erode the support out from underneath the sewer line. It usually is slow but sure. But you want to catch it at the right point. If you let a line just wear out to the point where it's just Swiss cheese, it's bellied out, you know, and you end up with offset joints, bellies, things like that, you lose the ability to do a trenchless repair system. and you're digging things up the good old-fashioned way, which I don't want to see anyone have to do unless there's a good reason. It's far more costly and it's very inconvenient, especially in a case like this where your line's running underneath a concrete patio. All right, right now I'm flipped backwards. We're going back toward the home now. You know, this clean out here, actually, you know what? It does have a little bit of a, there is a Y on it. It's a very gentle Y, which is allowing my camera to do this. When I push just a little bit further there, the back end of my camera kind of snags on the Y. And normally when I don't typically go back underneath homes. If I can, I will. In this case, my camera is able to kind of get through it. It's just technically a one-way clean out, actually. There's enough space here. Let's see. If I can baby this thing into here, I'm going to try to. You know what? Actually, I think we're okay. Never mind. But you get to a point here where a lot of this stuff is exposed piping that is you look at when you're down in the crawl space area. I focus on the exterior piping. But at this rate here, we are back through the foundation walls. This is back underneath the house now. Anyway, you want to rescope these about every 2 years. I wouldn't wait longer than that. Got a little bit of standing water here under the house, although it started out as a little bit. This is looking a bit more significant now. That's actually a fair amount of standing water. You've also got an offset, although the offset is going against flow. That's not an offset that would affect debris unless debris was able to go backwards, which doesn't make sense. Anyway, that right there is stopping my camera. The offset on that joint is enough. And this is an awkward enough access here. I don't want to beat my camera up trying to go through that. But you've got a belly there, and it's a fairly significant one. It started out with me thinking it was fairly minor, but you've got 2 inches of standing water in the line here. And the belly does appear to persist beyond this point. It's just I'm hitting an offset, and I don't want to break my camera trying to ram past it. So I will do a rough locate going back, and just know that 17 feet about here is as far as I can get. The belly does appear to go further than this. Realistically, you'd probably want to come into it the other direction, pull a toilet, and come in from the back end so you can get your best view of everything to see where this belly actually originates. Okay, so where we are right now, we are at the bottom of the stairs. Right at the bottom, if you're looking up the staircase, we're basically at the bottom right-hand corner, just barely starting to go underneath the staircase, angling towards the bathroom that is immediately to the right of that staircase. It looks like the master bedroom. Anyway, you've got a fairly significant belly there. That doesn't guarantee blockages will happen every day of the week, don't get me wrong. But, you know, after 13 years of scoping sewer lines, realistically, bellies in plastic pipe do not scare me a whole lot. They rarely cause problems unless the line is abused. Bellies in older pipe materials like this that are cast iron and concrete have very rough pipe walls naturally. The combination of debris getting slowed down by the belly, which will always happen, you combine that with a rough textured pipe wall, and it is a recipe where blockages can occur. Because the debris loses velocity, quite a significant amount of it going through the standing water. And then what you also have is those rough pipe walls to snag onto things as it tries to get through those areas. So if you're not treating your line nicely, folding your toilet paper, it's a little bit trickier thing when you've got kiddos in the house. That's a belly I would like to see repaired. Again, does not guarantee, no belly guarantees blockages will occur. But when you get one like that, you can develop blockages potentially by treating the line properly. That's where they're concerning. Whereas a lot of other bellies in newer pipe materials typically end up causing a problem when the line is being abused. So if you can see that staircase there, we ran, the chair is blocking my view, but basically the bottom right-hand corner of that stair, we stopped right as the line was about to go underneath the staircase and angling towards the bathroom that's on the other side of that wall in the master bedroom. So I would recommend that belly be repaired. I would also recommend, in an ideal scenario, you yank that master toilet, if not one that's even further beyond that one, so that you can get into kind of the back end most part of the line. and check to see where that belly actually starts. Is it, for all I know, the belly goes another 10 feet beyond where we stopped there. And if this is going to be a high occupancy household, a lot of people in it, especially kids, it would be a good idea to get that repaired there so it doesn't contribute to a blockage. Anyway, that's about the best I can do. I'm not really set up to do interior crawl space type stuff. That's something a repair guy would have to come out and check on, but I do recommend a fix there. Ideally, it'd be nice to see the rest of the line of the house to make sure you don't have anything else going on like that. Anytime you have these old homes that have been added on to multiple times, you know, you've got all different kinds of systems being interconnected at different eras. Settling issues, things like this often happen because of how many different times you're exposing the line, attaching to it, things like that. It's very easy to undermine soil and have this happen. So I'd recommend that get corrected and re-scoped. Make sure you don't have any significant standing water in the crawl space. I'm not too worried about areas where you've got, you know, quarter, half inch of standing water in cast iron. That's a situation that you kind of get back to the point of you need to abuse it to get a problem. With that much water there in cast iron, I am concerned you could get a blockage just even when you're treating it properly. So that's my 2 cents on that. Everything else I've scoped outside that bellied area, everything prior to it and going on out to the main, all of it is in good condition for its age, very clean, and has good flow. So here's your slider door. There's the clean out, and there's the new houses. So if you look straight ahead, just to the left of that basketball hoop, you see a chair facing you with a pillow sitting in it. It's, you know, on camera about a foot to the left of the basketball hoop. Right where that chair is at is where the line hits the main lateral. And the main lateral is running left to right going this direction. I don't remember off the top of my head which way it's flowing, but it runs this direction going parallel up and down that street there. So it's under the concrete. So it's one of those that you want to make sure that, you know, if there's an easement in place for it. Sometimes you're not supposed to have permanent structures like concrete pads over the top of easements. It's stuff worth looking into. As far as the exterior line goes, thing functions beautifully. I would re-scope it about every 1 to 2 years to keep an eye on it. And then after any repairs get completed, if you end up fixing the belly in the crawl space, very important to re-scope the line and check the work on it and make sure that you don't have any new bellies that have developed. Bellies happen many of them are the result of bad installation. So it happens a lot where you re-scope a repaired line, you've got a belly all over again in there. So just make sure you get it re-scoped, make sure everything, all that stuff gets fleshed out. If not repaired, especially if you have a large household moving into here with especially little kids, I would re-scope this line at the 1 year mark and check for buildup. You know, if it's not getting fixed and you're going to live with the thing, you want to do that. That way you get a baseline at the 1 year mark. Right now the line does not need cleaning, so it's in a good spot for this. You re-scope it a year and check for buildup. That way you can get a baseline for how much buildup is occurring based upon your living habits. Every home lives different from one another. A belly can be a problem for a big household full of little kids like mine, whereas for a home with 2 adults that know what and what not to put down a line and hardly ever use the fixtures, they rarely lead to issues. So it's important to keep an eye on it and you know, drain clean as needed. Anyway, exterior lines functioning properly at this time. The interior part of the line, you know, overall the line is functioning, but it is draining much slower than it should due to that standing water. And when I say draining slower, I'm not referring to water. Water flows through standing water without any issue at all. It's the solids I'm referring to going to that area. They'll be slowed down considerably, if not always stopping there, and then rely on disintegration and things like that to move on through.